Welcome to Pharaoh City, a sprawling metropolis in the middle of a disastrous superhero versus supervillain smackdown. As sworn enemies clash and iconic landmarks are pulverized to dust, most citizens have grabbed what they can and fled the city. Except those too stupid or stubborn to leave. Now you have to get them out of there. History beckons on this apocalyptic day. Old scores will be settled and legends will fall. And worst of all, Bad Trevor is in town. That's right, the most villainous villain of the villainy world. No foe has faced him and lived to tell the tale. Can anyone stop him? Will anyone survive his wrath? And would he be up for a selfie?
Hello! Who am I? I'm Steve Penfold. What do? I'm an indie comic book artist, and why am I talking to you right now? Well, I'm here to talk to you about Bad Trevor. Created by writer-director Mark Hurdle and illustrated by yours truly, Bad Trevor is a fast-paced, tactical card game set in a world of crazy superheroes, dastardly supervillains, and the hapless civilians caught in between. It can be played by 3 to 5 people, is easy to learn, and takes around 20 minutes per game. And we say per game because once you start playing Bad Trevor, one game is never enough. So, how does it work? At the start of each game, the cards are shuffled and dealt out between all the players. The aim is to then get rid of all the cards in your hand before your opponents do. But the cards you start with will either help or hinder you along the way. Hero cards will help your opponents. Villain cards will screw them over. Civilians, meanwhile, must be rescued by pairing them up with a matching card. Oh, and also there's 2 wild cards in the pack. Bad Trevor, the world's most heinous villain, and his arch nemesis, Kamikaze Kevin. But more on those 2 later. During their turn, a player lays down an attack hand against their opponent. 3 cards selected from their hand which are placed face down in front of them. Their opponent must then draw a card at random from the attack hand. If it's a hero or villain card, they must read the instructions out loud, discard the card, then carry out the instructions, even or especially if they don't want to. If they pick up a civilian card, this must stay in their hand, unless they have a matching pair, in which case they can be placed on the discard pile. Doing so then gives them several options. They can carry on playing as normal, they can reverse the order of play, or they can demand a certain civilian card from another player. However, if they are someone who doesn't have that card, their go is over. Nothing like a bit of jeopardy. So far, so simple. But what about Bad Trevor? Well, if a person is unlucky enough to pick up Bad Trevor from someone's attack hand, they must also pick up the remaining cards in that person's attack hand as well, adding all 3 to their own cards. And what's more, Bad Trevor can never be discarded, so whoever is left holding him at the end is crowned the loser of the game.
I have this stinky boy.
Oh, and there's one more wild card, Kamikaze Kevin. This card sits in the middle of the table for the entire game. At any point, if someone suspects that a particular card in a player's attack hand is Bad Trevor, they can pick up Kamikaze Kevin and slam him down on top of that card while shouting, "Take that, Bad Trevor!" Their opponent must then flip over that card and reveal if the player was right or not. If that person turns out to be correct, they can immediately exit the game and hand all their remaining cards to the accused player. But if the accuser was wrong, their opponent can leave the game instead and hand all their cards to their accuser. Kamikaze Kevin can only be used once in the entire game, after which he must be placed face up on the discard pile. So players must decide very, very carefully when to use him, if at all.
Yes!
And that's the game. In practice, it's an addictive blend of luck, skill, strategy, and bluffing. It's super easy to pick up, but you'll discover advanced tactics the more you play. And we know this because we've played it hundreds of times with adults and kids alike, which has allowed us to refine the game and make it as fun and addictive as we can.
Yeah! Okie dokie. More than one.
So what are you waiting for? Support our Kickstarter campaign and bag yourself a copy of Bad Trevor now. Just not this one. This one's mine.